Hey, this is episode 56. And in episode 56, what I'd like to share with you is this whole idea with, when we look at starting a project, what are some of the things that we need to look at what are some of the things that we have to be able to bring it forward. And so today, that's what I would like to be sharing with you on. Hey, so welcome back. And there's a lot to talk about here today. And so I want to get into the quick things of things, right? First and foremost, thank you so much for taking time to watch this live this live broadcast here. And what I like to do is really to be able to walk you through the 5 steps that I take. The 5 steps that I take whenever I want to embark on a project itself. And there are many things that I would like to do here. One of which is really to be able to share with you the step by step, right? The specific steps that I take to bring this out to you. This is my whole idea of being able to do that, and that's what I am intending on doing. So if you're here and you've got questions about how to get started on projects, please feel free to drop me a comment, and I'll be able to see your comment, and I will also be able to respond to you. All right, so that's something that you will I hope that you will do, because I really want this whole experience to be truly, what should I say, um, truly, engaging. I want to be able to use this as a platform to really engage and reach out to my audience and to be able to value add to them as well. All right. And so with that, let's get to it. Okay. So right. And so what you see here is really the slides that you will see for, how to, and and so this is something that I would want you to be able to follow along. So with this, I like to kind of get into the details of things and to show you what I have been working on. So before we get started on any projects, right? Before I get started on any project, the main thing that I would do, it's really to be able to find out a few things. And there are 5 specific steps that I do whenever I embark on a project. And so I'd like you to kind of follow along with me, because in the whole process itself, I hope that you will also learn something from it. And first thing first, I'd like to bring on a quote. And this quote is from David Allen. If you do not already know David Allen, it's the guy who came up with this way of thinking about getting things done. And so when you talk about getting things done, you talk about productivity, David Allen is the man. He's the one who is able to really teach us about how to get things done and what are the things to do that. And so the quote from him, I think it's really, really significant, especially the first line. It says that you do not actually do a project, but what you do is that you take action steps related to it, right? You take action steps related to it, and with those action steps itself, that's how you get to the desired outcome of your project. And so that's something that I would want to share with you. What are my decision steps? What are the steps that I take to help me arrive at the end goal itself? So these are the 5 steps that I take. And in summary, there are a series of things that I do. And what I like to do is to kind of walk you through each of these 5 steps itself, because I believe if you are able to get a better idea of how to do it in a methodological way, you would definitely be able to see a higher level of success than you would otherwise. And so, these are the 5 steps, and I would like to kind of walk you through in detail. So the first step that I always do is I would want to know, what are people searching for in the online space? I mean, what is it that they are looking for? What are some of the content that they are looking for? What are some of the questions or the solutions that they are looking for? But before we can kind of know that, what we really need to know is, we need to know what are the keywords that they use. And so I usually start off with the what I call the theme keyword. So here I'm going to give you an example. The theme keyword that I use is actually 3D printing, right? Because let's say I want to start on a project, I want to understand what are people doing in the area of 3D printing. That's something that I really want to get into. And so this is where I will find out what is it that they're doing, what specifically are they searching for. But instead of guessing, instead of trying to assume that I know what is it that they are looking at, what I prefer to do is to essentially use a tool to help me generate the keywords itself. So I decide on the theme keyword, and then next thing that I do is I generate a list of keywords. And then with this list of keywords itself, it then broaden my search, because originally I may think 3D printing for kids, but later on what I found out was that there are other keywords that I've never thought of. And those were very, very significant keywords in itself. And so once I do that, I then look for, what are some of the valuable keywords. And when we talk about valuable keywords, one way to look at that and one way to think about that really is, what are some of the keywords with specific intent? And when we talk about specific intent, essentially what we are looking at is, we want to find out if, when people are doing those searches, what exactly are they looking out for? Are they looking out for just more information, or are they looking out for more than just information? Perhaps what they want to do is they are prepared to buy a 3D printer, or perhaps they are prepared to invest in learning how to use 3D printing, for example. So that's the thing that I really want to get into. So the tool that I use, and I think it's pretty straightforward, but I do understand that some of you may find this tool a little intimidating. And the tool that I use essentially is Google Ads. And in Google Ads itself, there is a tool within Google Ads called Keyword Planner. And what Keyword Planner does is that it gives you the ability to punch in a set of keywords, and from there it enables you to come up with a list of keywords, or it throws out a list of keywords for you. And so from this picture itself, you can really see that the key thing here is that you are able to see my main keyword, my theme keywords, and also all the rest of the suggested keywords. And if you kind of look carefully here, you would be able to see certain things, right? One of it is that you would definitely be able to see right, the list of keywords here. So there are 33 32 other keyword ideas that Google would churn it out for you. And this has been really, really helpful because on my own itself, I probably won't be thinking about things like best 3D printed toys or even kid-friendly 3D printer, for example. So those keywords were invaluable to me. And without using this tool itself, I'll probably not be able to find out what these tools, what these keywords are. And so I think this is tremendously valuable to me, right? And so I would look at the keywords, and then the next step really is I want to determine, is there a sufficient level of search volume? And so a lot of time people ask me, why bother with search volume? Well, the reason why I bother with search volume is because you and I, we do not have the ability to create demand. We're not Apple. We are not, Google. We are not Sony. So, and speaking of Sony, I think I finally kind of got this whole setup sorted out. This is the live stream using the Sony ZV-1. And let me know what you think about the quality of the stream, because, when I got this camera, I was pretty thrilled because of the small footprint of the camera compared to my Canon 80D. Plus, the Canon 80D doesn't give me a clean, a clean HDMI output itself. So that was the thing, right? So with this, I really want to look at when they talked about search volume itself. What I really like to know is the following: is that is there a possibility that I am able to look at, right? I'm able to look at sufficient volume from there. And if that is a possibility, then I think it is tremendously useful for me, and it is something that I think will enable me to do that. And so so I think it's tremendously important for me to be able to look at search volume itself. I'm just trying to get myself out of the way here. Oh, man. Okay. Right. So essentially, the whole idea with that is that, I want to find out whether is there search volume. And like I said, you and I, we're not Apple, we're not Google, we're not Sony. And so we are not able to create the kind of demand. And so we want to know whether is there sufficient demand. The next question people would always ask is the higher the better? Well, yes and no, because the thing is that with higher search volume, you also have to determine what is good, which means there are a lot of people searching, but you also have to determine two things. Number one is you have to determine if this search terms does it have commercial intent? So what it means is that if someone is searching for a 3D printer, they could be just doing research about a 3D printer, and they could be looking at purchasing one. But if people who are looking at 3D printing, they might not be looking at buying a 3D printer. And of course, you have better keywords like 3D printers for kids, or best 3D printer for kids, for example. Now those are invaluable, and those gives you a lot of information, and it also gives you a lot of details about the intent of the person who is doing the search. So in most cases, the very high search volume are pretty much the informational type, which is good if you are looking at top of the funnel because you are just looking at creating content to get people to buy into the content and to be able to look at what you have to offer, that's it. You also want to be able to look at them and to be able to decide for yourself if that is something that you are able to benefit from. And when I say benefit from, really what I mean is, is there a possibility for you to be able to take advantage or seize the opportunity to be able to work with them and to be able to get them to want to do this. All right. So that it's the part here. Now the other thing is, why is there a need to look at search volume? And I always tell people this, what is the definition of a business? A definition of a business, and all good businesses will be able to do this. All good businesses will be able to get their revenue, or to know that they have a revenue stream that is predictable, right? That is predictable. So until and unless you have a revenue stream that is predictable, you pretty much trying to see if things are going to work out and all that stuff, which is good, but I prefer predictability. It's just like if you operate a shop, for example, you would want to be able to determine on a given day what is the number of people who are going to walk into your store. And that is crucial because without knowing that figures, it's just a shot in the dark, right? So search volume is really, really important. The next thing is you also want to determine if there is sufficient competition. Now, a lot of time people are afraid of competition, but let me tell you this, competition is good. And competition validates that whatever you are looking at doing has got potential, has got viability, there's a proof of concept. And it's especially good if we are able to determine, for example, that when you type in that keyword, let's say 3D printing, for example, you would be able to look at the series of ads. So let me just very quickly give you an example here. Let's say you go with 3D printers, right? And so right at the top here, you should be able to see some ads. Now, this shows you a whole bunch of ads, and as well as a whole bunch of advertisements that are basically, promoting the 3D printer itself. So from this, for a fact that 3D printers, definitely there is a demand. People are looking for it. That's why there are ads itself. And so that's just something that is really, really crucial. So competition is great. Competition validates your results. Competition validates your ideas. So that's something that you want. Now, what you do not want is you do not want too much competition. And when I say too much competition, you want to be able to say that, okay, if I am going to use the internet, remember this is the show about one person, $1 million in revenue, all digital, right? So imagine if you are looking at leveraging the internet, you do not have a physical shop, you do not have a physical space, you just have a website, right? You have a website to sell your things and to be able to promote your things. Then you want to know whether are you able to compete. And of course, too much competition would not be good for you, because what it means is that you're just going to spend a lot of money or time trying to get ahead of the competition when it comes to search. What you want to do is, of course, you want to be a bit more innovative, right? You want to be a bit more innovative. But if you're starting out and you do not have much of a budget to begin with, then definitely you want to be able to use keywords that are sufficient in demand, that there is competition, but the competition is not too intense, right? So unless you've got deep pockets, then by all means, go out there and grab your market share itself. But for the rest of us, we have to find a way to be able to capture the market. And the only way that we can do that is we have to find out that there is a demand, and there is there is competition, but it's just not too much. And of course, at the end of the day, you must be able to stand out from the competition. The next thing that I do, once I know that, I know what are the search terms that people are using, I know that there's sufficient search volume. That means I know, on a given month, what is the average number of people searching for this keyword itself. And I also know that there is competition, which is a validation of my ideas. But at the same time, I know that the competition isn't too intense. And once I have gone through all this phase, I would then move to step 4. Now, you may be asking, right? Because you may say that what happens if by step 1 that you look at the keywords and you look at the search volume and there is no demand, there is no search volume, it's like 0 to 10. Then the answer to your question is you need to go on to the next idea. What it means is that no one is searching for, and you are probably very, very likely not going to able to capitalize, because you cannot go out there and make people search for something that they are not searching for, unless you are going to educate them first, and then after you've educated them, then they will probably be starting to do the search. But that's going to be, that's something for the big guys. For the rest of us who want to be looking at building a one-person business with an audacious goal of bring in 1 million revenue on an annual basis, all things digital, then this is something that's really, really crucial. Now, when it comes to step 4, really it's the process where I have a lot of fun. I want to know what are the questions that people are asking. And the reason I want to know that is because, I can only make up so much so much question that people are asking, right? So there are a few ways that I could know that the questions that people are asking. One is that I have very, very intimate conversations with my customers. I ask them questions. I'm able to solicit from them, what are their concerns, and from there I'm able to find out what is it that they need, right? But assuming if you are starting from scratch and you have no audience to begin with, and you are really looking at being able to do something, and yet you want to be able to know what are the questions that people are asking instead of guessing them, then this is what you will need to do, right? You need to find out what questions people are asking. Now, once you have a way to find out the questions that people are asking, the next thing that you want to do is you want to categorize them, right? You want to categorize them according to the buyer's journey. We'll talk about buyer's journey in a separate episode. But what you want to do is you want to organize them, and you want to organize them into their buyer's journey. And then, of course, you want to look at the answers to the question. So I found this good source, which is Quora.com. And this is where I would head down to, right? I would head down and type in 3D printing and see what are the type of questions that people have been asking. So these are real questions by real people. And this really gives me a better idea of what are some of the questions that people are asking and what is it that I could do. And of course, once I know that there is sufficient search volume, I know that there's sufficient competition, but it also means that the competition isn't too intense, and we can get into what does it mean if the competition isn't too intense in a later show. But once I know that the competition isn't too intense, the next thing is I want to find out what are the questions that people are asking. And when I find out all these questions that people are asking, the immediate thing that I do is I categorize them. So I would categorize them into perhaps it's something new that people need to know. Perhaps it's they need to know what are the tools to use, right? Or perhaps they are looking at who are the people talking about, or who are the people who are using this particular solution, and who are the people not using this solution, for example, right? So I want to find out what are the questions. I put them into categories. And once I get down to that, the next thing that I do is I start to do step 5. And you probably wouldn't be surprised coming from me, because step 5 itself is where you teach, where you start teaching your audience. You start teaching your audience what they can do. What are they supposed to do? Go through step by step, like how I did this episode itself. Go through step by step. Show them, give them an idea of what they need to look out for, what they need to work with, and what are the things that they will have to consider when they are, doing a project like this. And once you are able to do that, inevitably, what's going to happen is you are definitely going to earn their trust. You are going to be seen as someone who is knowledgeable, someone who is able to give them their inputs about what is it that they're looking at. You are able to educate them. And so that would be truly, truly, truly significant, right? And so, these are the 5 steps that I always use, and whenever I embark on any project itself. And so I hope this has been helpful to you. If you got a question, please feel free to ask me, leave it in the comments. I'll be more than happy to chat with you and to, give you more ideas about how you can get certain things done. If not, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you like about this particular setup itself. What do you like, what you don't like? How is the audio and visual like? Is it sharp enough for you? And all that details itself. And with that, thank you so much for watching. And this is Melvin on the Melvin Live Show. And I'll see you on the next one.